in from the original story and what's left out from the original story is very much a result of Dennis's script. Which,
although, I mean, it's a bit of both, isn't it?
It's become a bit give and take.
Yeah, because it's there are just you can't get everything in because we haven't got enough time, and there's quite a lot in the book. And also, it became clear early on in the writing process that it was like it was going to be necessary to add some other things because there's two sorts of narratives, isn't there? There's the sort of the narrative of the story of Matilda and the narrative of the scenes and the lines and how those people talk to each other. But there's also there's this musical narrative that runs through, which plays quite strongly into the sort of, the kind of emotional sort of structure of the piece,
Which is really interesting to us because Dahl has this ability to make us care about the characters, but he's very undemonstrative in the way, people get locked in cupboards and murdered and stuff, and it's just like, and the next day the sun came up, and that's why he's so brilliant, is because kids get to indulge in these things that kids love, these what you were saying, dirty world where adults are mean and throw kids by the hair, but Dahl doesn't say, the kid who got thrown by the hair ended up in a wheelchair, and it's quite cartoony. He writes in a cartoony kind of.
He does write in a cartoon, and that's
in these books, obviously.
Yeah, and that's been one of the sort of challenges as well, because I've had to sort of try and keep it cartoony but keep it real, and the music is the same sort of thing. Like there's sort of cartoony parts to it, but at the same time, you've got to also have really strong emotional parts.
Yeah, and I've had to try and write what would Matilda sing, what would Miss Honey sing. Well, in the book, they don't really talk much about how they're feeling, and when you're singing a musical, you're meant to be expressing a bit of something, so we've been working really hard to not damage how we feel. Matilda's still got to be that brave, smart kid, and Miss Honey's still got to be quiet and stuff. But if Miss Honey came out and went, I feel so terrible, it'd just be like, oh.
As a writer, I tend not to have actors in mind when I'm writing anyway. I tend also not to visualise characters too strongly. I hear voices quite clearly and stuff, but not I don't really see people, But the thing about this is that Quentin Blake's illustrations are so sort of, everyone remembers that illustration of the Trunchbull, you know what I mean?
Socks.
Standing there with those breeches that kind of pull up. And also Miss Honey, and Matilda, you remember those illustrations. So in a way they sort of come into your head. Although you don't sort of imagine cartoon characters sort of
moving
around.
That animation. No, that's right. It's exactly the same for me. You don't animate those drawings in order to. It's just the same. It's a sound, and that's a touchstone for your understanding of it. But I haven't imagined a single until we did a workshop and I started to see a few humans doing it. I never.
Yeah. In fact, we've said that we don't want humans really. If there's any way we can get kind of puppets or some
robots
would be great. I didn't really read. I'll be honest. I didn't really read until I was about 13. I could read, but I don't think really. We didn't really have books and things. It just wasn't. It wasn't really that kind of a house. It wasn't like we were ignorant or anything. We just didn't really. It just wasn't that sort of. We weren't really book people. We watched telly. And it wasn't until. But I sort of discovered reading when I was about 13. I think I think strangely I read The Lord of the Rings, and I read it from cover to cover, and I sort of discovered reading, and I just thought reading was, from then on I thought reading was brilliant.
I read when I was young. My brother was one of these, my older brother was one of these kids who had read all the famous fires by the time he was 5. He got reading early, and I don't think I was like that. I don't think I read as much as he did. He was kind of the nerdy one, but yeah, we always read, and I think Roald Dahl's probably The Twits is one of my earliest reading memories. So it's Dahl's pretty embedded in me.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. The Great Glass Elevator is great as well, isn't it?
I think also the Poacher one, Danny the Champion of the World, was really early for me as well, and George's Marvellous Medicine and The Magic Finger was really early for me too. And I loved his biography. I love Flying Solo in my teens as well. But I think, so yeah, Dahl was the biggest. I remember my mum getting, I had forgotten this, I wrote a story for school in year 4 or 5 where someone goes to swear, and and I wrote something like S dash dash dash, he said, although I couldn't write it here. And it was a really Dahlian naughtiness, or at least it was a Dahl-inspired naughtiness. I remember my mum getting cross with me. I'll have to ask my mum if this is accurate, this memory, but I remember her saying, just because he does that, he's a grown-up, he's allowed to do that. You don't write that sort of stuff in the stories. The director bounces my songs off his kids, and my baby's tiny, but my 3.5-year-old is 3.5, and she's a bit young to really concentrate on music for a while, but she's weird with my Matilda songs. She doesn't really like music. She's not yet, she thinks it's loud and annoying, but when I play, especially when I grow up, she
likes that.
Yeah, she loves it. And she likes quiet. She sits with the earphones on, kind of just, she's weird because she doesn't seem very musical, but when she's listening to Matilda stuff, because I put a bit of ceremony on it, listen to this is one of Daddy's songs. And she has this thing where she, you'd think if you're watching her listen that she's heard the song 10 times as she's singing along, but what she's doing is just after it, just going quiet, silent. No, she's just after. She's just hearing it for the first time.
Wow,
it's really weird. She's really connected to it. It's really weird. Anyway,
what we have done though is we had quite a few workshops as well. Like we've had 2 or 3 workshops where we've worked for a couple of weeks, in fact, on the music and script
with
and
actors,
combining them with actors, and then we've invited kids in, and that's been very telling.
They hate it.
Yeah, they all cry.
1 star.
We've invited kids to watch, and
I haven't been present at one of those performances.
You weren't at the kids one, yeah. Well, we've done one workshop with kids, and Tim wasn't there. Unfortunately, he was in Australia. But we did a workshop, and we came in, and we sort of like sat a big bunch of kids down, and sort of got them to look at it, and they seem to like it. Funnily enough,
it's interesting giving workshop performances to kids because a workshop performance demands you engage with the text because it's just a whole lot of people reading off script. So it's hard, isn't it? Because what kids love about musical theatre is...
Yeah.
I remember Starlight Express changing my life when I was 10. People on roller skates. The text, the narrative, I think I can probably safely say wasn't the thing that drew me in.
No, but that's right. There's a sort of visual spectacle that you're after, isn't there? Yeah. And that's difficult to sort of, obviously in a workshop that's tricky, but what we do to counteract that is we make sure that we've got hungry kids in there and we don't feed them unless they give us an answer we want.
Unless they laugh.
If they don't laugh,
if you laugh, you have
they
a
laugh,
muffin.
They get food. We throw little bits of salami
like
roll
feeding
to them.
ducks, like feeding really funny ducks.
Oh man, you broke that lizard. I know you broke that lizard.
I broke the lizard's tail.